All right, let's go ahead and pick up where we left off. In the previous video, I did the setup in the first three modules of the Serverless Application Model workshop for AWS. And let's move on to some other super cool stuff, which is basically building code pipelines for any of your code so that once you check it into a code repository, it can show up directly in your AWS account in a deployed infrastructure. So there are a number of different supporting providers that help you enable a code pipeline. Uh, and one of the ones that are the one that's featured as part of this workshop is GitHub Actions. And so the idea is that you check in your code related to Lambda functions and other serverless technologies into your Git repository, and a build process will happen there, and then and this provider then will do the pushing to your AWS account. All right. So in the previous one, I just had some code that I was working with on my local computer, and I pushed it up into AWS and with a SAM deploy command. And here it's going to change where a code pipeline is configured. So I'm going to push code into my code repository, and that's going to trigger the push to AWS. So let's carry on. And so, says it takes about 25 minutes, probably not with me talking. So the first thing we need is a code repository in GitHub. So you need to go to github.com and create a account if you haven't already created one. And once you have an account in GitHub, you can click on any of the links that say create a new repository. And we're going to create a repository called SAM application. So let's go ahead, and I am logged into a GitHub account, and I'm going to type in SAM, hyphen app. And let's see if I'm supposed to put anything else in there. It's public, and that's it. Sometimes I think I'm being smart and I'll like click add a README file and then it creates all kinds of problems for me. So it turns out that it was better to not do this. So create repository. Oh, choose an owner. The owner will be me. Okay. Public. Off we go. There is now a repository set up with no files. All right, carry on. Says GitHub users have two options when working with repositories, HTTPS and SSH. You can authenticate with the personal access token, and for the workshop, it's easier to choose HTTPS with the personal access token. So we need to find that. All right. So there's a little link here that tells you about where to find this personal access token. I hope I can find it. Let's see if I can get this right. I come over here and I go to settings. And then from here, I go to developer settings. And then I go to personal access tokens. And I'll go to, I think tokens classic is fine. Um, and we're going to call this serverless CI/CD workshop. Oh, I guess I already had one of those. So let me just get rid of that. All right, generate a new token. Serverless CI/CD workshop. I'm going to have it good for 30 days, and I'm going to give it access to repo and workflow. So I go repo and workflow, and I believe that's all that I will need. Generate a token. And here is a fancy string that I need to keep track of. So I am going to copy and paste that into another window. There we go. It's my third thing there. Boop, 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 boop. Let's make sure I don't need anything else. Cool. All right, got that. Now we need to configure the Git client with a username and password so your comments have an author defined. Fair enough. I could do this in really any window. And even though I'm not going to be using this SAM folder anymore, I can still type in git commands. So let's go ahead and do git config user.name. Oops. Not in a Git directory. I don't know that I need that yet. Well, hold on a second. Am I still doing this? Um, all right. So I think that might have been a little bit premature. Okay, sorry. It looks like I am going to continue to use the previous code that I had before. So I'm in SAM app, and so anyway, I think there's going to be a little bit of an issue thing here. I think I need to do this later. Um, so here, I'm just pretty sure that we haven't done anything with this yet. So that's why I do these videos, because I found some problems in this particular tutorial, and yeah, so it's not a Git directory yet, but it will be. All right, so carry on. Go to the right folder, then let's type in these commands. All right, so this is going to create our Git repository locally, and then it's going to stage up some things that are ready to be committed. And let's see how all that works. Well, all right. Well, let's see what we got. Let's see if this will work without any additional things. Boing. All right. So we did initialized a local repository in sam-app.git. Ignore. Anyway, we've got a .git folder in there somewhere too. I'm not seeing where that's at, but um, so we got a repository. Well, okay, sam-app dot. Anyway, so I think there's a hidden folder there that I could see if I wanted to. It looks like everything got created without any error messages, which I am happy with. And then it says, now we need to add an origin. So basically, we need to tell this thing about, oops, my Git repository. And so I come out here to, let's look at my list of repositories in Git, and I need to find this URL right here, which is where, or how you refer to this thing up in the cloud, or it's not in the cloud, it's over on the Git website. Um, so that should be what we need, and it has been added. Let's make sure I got the right commands added in there. Looks correct. And so now, if I copy this, let's see what happens. Okay, compressing, writing to main, branch, main, blah, blah. All right, let's verify that it has contents in it. So let's go and look after running that command. So I clicked just basically the header for code there. And before it had all kinds of messages and boilerplate stuff. And now it actually has stuff pushed up from my local project, which is awesome. So now I have an actual project that's running, that's sitting here in GitHub. Um, nice. All right, next step. Okay, to build a type, we should read a little bit about this. Let's see what it says. Best way is by provisioning CI/CD pipelines programmatically using infrastructure as code, useful for microservices. Um, you can use different tools to create your infrastructure, to create your code pipelines, essentially, and their cloud resources. Um, and this is true. Yeah, okay, I see what they're saying. Sorry. These four different technologies are alternatives for creating your infrastructure in template files. And it says, hey, in this one, because it's the SAM workshop, we're going to use SAM exclusively. And you can use something else if you want later, but this is just kind of a proof of concept. Um, okay, now we've got pipelines, which is going to allow us to push code um, into AWS. So you can basically select any of the providers that you want. Now it says, let's talk about the way that GitHub pushes stuff, and it has a visualization here. It says, after a commit happens on the main branch, there's an on push, which is shown in this set of steps that happen in the screenshot below. This particular one that we want to do is to use GitHub Actions to run test, and then we want to build the code, then we want to deploy it to a testing environment, then we want to do an integration test, and if it passes that, we want to push to deploy. Okay, so here's the test environment, then there's a build, and then there's a push, there's another testing environment, and then if it succeeds in there, it's going to get deployed to production. So complicated ideas for real world setups. Okay, it says now that our application is in a repository, we want to have a two-stage deployment pipeline. We want to have so they're talking about potentially deploying into a development environment. They're actually talking about a visualization here of a development account and a production account. Um, I don't know that we actually literally use two different accounts. I think they just kind of simulate that. But that is a correct and good idea that people use all the time is they have entire AWS accounts set up for development and entire AWS accounts set up for production. All right, so it says we're going to set up GitHub Actions that securely integrates with AWS, um, and it talks about how that works. And I don't, if you want to stop and read that, you can. Uh, we're going to build. Actually, let me just double check that I'm sharing the right screen. I am. Okay, cool. Um, we're going to create the dev pipeline, create the prod pipeline, create the actions workflow, and then the deploy it. All right, so the SAM pipeline will guide you through a long series of questions. So this to me is like a sig it's in bright red. This is another area where things can go south for newbies. It says it might show up in any order, the questions, but make sure you just answer them as they indicate below. Okay, so basically we're using the SAM program to set up the ability to have multiple um, locations across our pipeline, including theoretically test, development, staging, and even production. All right, so let us follow the commands. Mm, 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 mm. Well, given how much real estate I need, so I might just go to a terminal window. So I'll say present working directory, SAM app. So let me pull up another window that I had up earlier. It's right here. So So I'm in the SAM app, oops, I'm in the SAM app directory, and I'm going to type in SAM pipeline bootstrap stage dev. Basically, this is going to use this program to create not the production stage yet, but the development stage. So one of the places where I can push my code changes. All right. Oops. Okay. Sorry, I want to try to get this in a way we can see it, which is not working for me very well. Okay, select a pipeline, and we want um says select a credential source for this. All right. Account to select a credential source, named profile. Okay, so apparently that's two, default. See, like they said, it's out of order. Enter the region you want to put it in. Yep, I'll put it in the default. Select a user permissions provider. And we want two OpenID Connect. Select a provider, and we want GitHub Actions. Enter the URL of the provider. Enter the URL of the, let's see, let me just make sure I've got this correct. Is that right? Token, actions, give user content, return, enter. Okay. Oh, it looks like that was already in there, so I didn't need to copy paste it. So I'll just hit return. Oh, and enter the OIDC client ID. Sorry, let me see if I can find that one. Okay, so we're going to leave that at the default. Enter the GitHub organization that the code repository belongs to. Enter your username. Okay, so mine in my account is Dagan K. So enter your GitHub repository name, and that's going to be SAM app. Enter the branch that you want to use. Main. Enter the pipeline execution URL if you have previously created one, or we'll create one for you. I'm going to hit return. Enter the CloudFormation role. So we need a couple roles created. Enter the artifact bucket of your Lambda function, or we will create one for you. Okay. Does your application contain any image type Lambda functions? No. And it says, please confirm everything. Should we proceed? Yes. All right, let's cross our fingers that this is going to work okay. Do, 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 do. It's going to take a moment. Let me just make sure everything is like it's supposed to. Okay, well, it's going to create it. Um, and then eventually it's going to say successfully updated, we hope. So I'm just going to pause this because whenever I say that, it hurries up and finishes. And I'll come back when it something changes on the screen. Okay, that only took about another 30 seconds or something. All right, with that, I assume that these green messages mean that everything is good and happy. It says successfully created, so everything's good. Um, It says these resources were created with the CloudFormation stack that uh, so um, just like a Lambda function is a resource that can get created in AWS, a code pipeline with its associated roles and buckets is also something that can be created as a stack within AWS. And so as we look here, it's saying that we just created all of these resources in column 3 based on what we did. And so let's just go ahead and verify that. I go stacks, AWS SAM, manage dev pipeline, resources, resources. So here's the variable names we probably gave to it um, and through the wizard. And here are the actual types of resources that were created. So for me, if I'm teaching like a programming class, like I go over every single step of what every single character means, but there's so many things that get created when we're doing code pipelines and stuff that it just doesn't make sense to explain each individual part. So I won't. We'll just wave our hands and say this is what needed to be created. Okay, so now we need to create a production stage for the pipeline. Interesting. Let's just confirm this once again. Um, so we were creating something for dev. This says development pipeline resources. Now we need to have something for production. Hmm. All right, let's run this again. So we'll say, well, I'll just push up instead of, okay. So instead of building the dev pipeline, we're now creating the production pipeline. All right, so same type of questions. Account details, named profile, region, enter the pipeline, execution role, enter the cloud formation, enter the bucket ARN. Does your thing use Lambda function, or does it use containers for your Lambda functions? No. Confirm that you want the values above. Boom. Proceed with creation. Yes. Once this is complete, Sam will launch a new CloudFormation stack. It will create resources for your production deployment. All right, so this is going to take a minute, but let's just kind of go over here for a second and see that there is a production pipeline that is also in progress. So I suppose we might conclude then that code pipelines are kind of magical. They have all these different parts that make it possible to take code from a source repository and put it out into production. So let's see. It's busy doing its thing. I am going to pause it for just a second because it's going to take a second. All right, carrying on. I got a success message related to my production pipeline. And if I check it over here, I can see that there was a similar set of resources that were created for my production pipeline stack, just like for the development pipeline stack. Okay, so let's move on to the next step in the magic. Okay, so now that we have supporting resources, let's put stuff into our pipelines. So, this is like the worst page ever, by the way. Okay, so we'll type SAM pipeline init. All right, and then follow the instructions. Quick start pipeline. What do you want to use? GitHub Actions. What is the Git branch used? Main. What is the template file path? Template. Select an index or enter the stages one's configuration as provided. Stage one is dev. Okay, yep. What is the SAM application stack name that we want to give this thing? Oh, the default is that, but we're going to call it SAM app dev. So this means when we say stack, it means this is going to show up in CloudFormation. All right. And then select number two's SAM app prod. And we hit return. Wait. Oh. Oh no. Select an index or enter the stage two's configuration name. Oh, I was supposed to press 2. All right. Let me just go. All right. I'm just typing in nonsense. Oh, shoot. That was not what I meant to do at all. Okay, let me try that one more time. I thought it would say like, do you want to confirm these messages at the end? And it did not. So let's just hope that I can fix this. Okay, same things. Main, template, dev, SAM, app, dev. Doing this the second time. Uh, select, okay, so for the next one, configuring stage 2, prod, SAM, app, prod. Okay, so sorry about that. Made a little mistake with my typing there. Um, yes. Okay. And then, oh man, I think I probably broke this darn thing because I entered in some stuff that I did not mean to type in. Um, so let me just go in and double check what got created because I didn't mean to make that typo and it could mess things up. So let me just check it. It says I created this file right here. So let me just go in and check it. So this is not something you want to see, but these things do happen. So I need to look in GitHub workflows pipeline.yaml. GitHub workflows pipeline.yaml. Let's just see if any of my garbage accidentally got pasted in there. Ooh. All right. Well, let me just poke around in here for a minute and make sure um, I didn't put anything that I didn't mean to. 1 second. Okay, well, I'm not seeing anything that looks bad, so hopefully I didn't ruin the whole video here by mistyping one item. Um, okay, so your project should look like this now. And let's go ahead and type this command. We'll type in git status. Your branch is up to date. You've got some untracked stuff potentially. Let's do git add everything. And then or copy paste. Oops. Copy paste. Okay, looks good. So I'm just curious what things look like up here at this point. Okay, so I've got a workflows folder up here now, and it's got this file in it that tells how to deploy information. Also just curious, what do I have in terms of stacks? So I created the dev pipeline and the production pipeline, but nothing else is there currently. So fair enough. Let's go ahead and watch things happen. You now have a workflow. Go over to your app workflows pipeline.yaml. All right, let's see where things are at. App actions. Oh, I didn't do that right. Um, oh wait, no. Actions. There we go. Adding this thing right now. And as I click on it, we can see that it's um, progressing through the things that it wants to do. Let's see. So it's going to go through test, build, package, all the things that it's supposed to. So if everything turns green, then we'll be super happy. Um, let's go ahead. I assume this is going to take a few minutes, so I'll just pause while it's doing that. Alrighty then. Let's see what's next. So I waited for it to finish all of these things, and then the tutorial says that the next thing that's gonna. Ooh, I wonder if it give us a time. Okay, 3 minutes and 29 seconds. So after it's done doing all of that, it says that we can test it. Now, in this tutorial, it uses curl to basically visit a URL that you set with this funky command and stuff like that. Let's just let's do this a little differently. Um, we'll go over here and we go over to CloudFormation and we look at the stacks. And the first one that was created was app dev. So notice, by the way, that we now have one, two, three, four different stacks or sets of resources that have been created. This is the code pipelining stuff, whereas this is the actual deployed application. This is the plumbing. This is the deployed to get code to the app, and then these are the actual apps and their associated resources. So if I go to dev, remember we were creating a URL. If I go over to outputs, we have this URL and we paste that and it says, hello, my friend. And if we go over to stacks and we do production, we're going to have a different URL and it also says, hello, my friend. So this is awesome. So this other stuff was just another way of doing that from the command line. If I do curl -s and type in any of the URLs that I just did, I'll see the same thing. So they're like, hey, there it is. All right. And it says, you have not done any of your unit tests yet. Oh, that they're not being run. Well, I don't know. It says, you may have noticed. No, I did not notice. So let's just see what it shows here. Um, okay. At any rate, we'll trust them on that we need to set it up. I've actually looked at it before and they're right, but I don't want to think through it right now. Okay, it says edit pipeline.yaml and add commands to the build step and then commit and push these changes. So let's look at this. So we go to pipeline.yaml in my editor. So hey, look, there I am. And somewhere in here, we need to add this test block. Um, search for the string test. You'll find a comment that shows where you can put your test commands. Okay. So it says change it to this. All right, let's find that. So I'm going to search for test, not this test, this one right here. And it says, well, it's got this stuff listed. Um, let's see if there's any changes. That doesn't look any different so far. Do steps, uses, run, do this stuff. Commit the changes. And okay. Oh, it says, does it say to uncomment it? Please add the commands that are appropriate for your chosen runtime. Okay. I see what they're saying. Well, basically, I just need this. Well, I have to make sure because I'm using YAML that my spacing is right. So, all right, let me just, I'll copy all of that and I'll come over here and test. And including the word test, I will paste and then I'll hyphen, select all that, shift tab. Oops, not shift tab, tab. All right. Hopefully that's right. Okay. And oh, sorry. because this is all green, it looks like it's commented out. So that was just something playing tricks with my eyes. But once it's in here, it's not commented out anymore. So basically, these lines got added. So I hit save, and now as part of this file that gets run in GitHub every time as part of the code pipeline, it's when it gets to test, oops, make sure that looks right. Test if, ooh, that's not looking good. All right, let's try that. Sorry, tab. Okay, that looks better. Okay, so I hit save. There's no auto commit here, so let's be reminded about how we're going to do that. I'm going to copy these two commands and I will paste them. Off they go. And let's see if I come over to here and actions. And it's got this running right now. And once again, this may take several minutes. So let me go ahead and press pause. Okay, 2 minutes and 16 seconds later, we can now go over and well, we're able to first note that everything completed. And we want to find under test within the GitHub Actions portion of things that there is an area that ran our tests. So let's go ahead and discover that. So we click on test and we open up this area, and we see that our unit tests did in fact run, and this is awesome. So it was one of the steps that we needed to complete as part of what was included in our document there. Awesome. Okay, and that is it for this portion. It says this was only supposed to take a limited amount of time, and yet it felt like it took longer than that. So 25 minutes. Oh, sadly, it might have taken longer. Anyway, let's go ahead and stop, and I'll create another video for the next section, which is canary deployments.